Our first tipping point tonight, President Trump claimed 3 to 5 million illegal votes were cast in the election, costing him the popular vote, he said. Democrats claim there is no widespread voter fraud. They point to the studies Trump cited and claim those studies are inaccurate and have been debunked. Now a small third-party think tank is weighing in, so are the claims of widespread voter fraud accurate or are they not? Professors from Old Dominion University say yes. They published an academic paper in 2014 claiming 14% of non-citizens in the United States indicated that they were registered to vote. 14% of just illegal immigrants, not counting legal non-citizens, 14% of 12 million, that's 1.6 million illegal registrations right there. The problem is professors from Harvard University claim that study is inaccurate. The sample is biased, they said. The Harvard professors claim of 20 million non-citizen adults in the United States, 0% voted illegally. Meanwhile, our president continues to claim illegal voters cost him the popular vote. Take a look.
Does the president believe that millions voted illegally in this election? And what evidence do you have of widespread voter fraud in this election, if that's the case?
The president does believe that. He has stated that before. I think he stated his concerns of voter fraud and people voting illegally during the campaign. And he continues to maintain that belief based on studies and evidence that people have presented to him.
But exactly what evidence? Speaker Ryan today said there's no evidence. The National Association of Secretaries of State say that they don't agree with the president's assessment. What evidence do you have?
As I said, I think the president has believed that for a while based on studies and information he has.
With me now, president of Just Facts, James Agresti. James, thanks for being here, sir.
Liz, thanks for having me on.
All right, James, let's start with this question of the day. I said this in the introduction. It's everyone's heard, I think, by this point that President Trump thinks that millions of illegal voters cost him the popular vote, caused Hillary Clinton to beat him with the popular vote. Democrats look at the studies that he points to as evidence, and they say that those studies have been debunked. What is your opinion? You are, after all, the president of this small third-party think tank that I've been referring to. Are these claims of widespread voter fraud, are they accurate or are they not accurate?
They are accurate, but not to the degree that Donald Trump says they are. They don't prove definitively that he would have won the popular vote if these non-citizen votes were not counted. But there can be no doubt, based on a comprehensive analysis of polling data and election records, that substantial numbers of non-citizens vote in U.S. elections, maybe even as many as Donald Trump says at the high side.
All right, well, let's look at evidence here, because I think the thing that's missing from a lot of these partisan fights about voter fraud is the evidence. President Trump says these things. He points vaguely to a few studies, but he doesn't present the concrete evidence to back up such an enormous claim here. Liberals who say that, there is no widespread voter fraud, that there's been studies that prove that, 0% of illegal voters impact our elections here. What evidence do you have to draw the conclusion that there's substantial voter fraud, but not enough to substantiate President Trump's claim of millions?
Okay, well, I wouldn't say it doesn't substantiate the claim. I'm just saying that he's being a little too sure about it, that the evidence is not as concrete as he says to give a number that specific. So what is the evidence? In 2014, the Journal of Electoral Studies published a paper that analyzed extensive polling data, a peer-reviewed scientific journal, and found that somewhere between 38,000 at the very low side and 2.8 million on the high side, non-citizens voted in the 2008 election. Now, that analysis has been extended to 2012 with similar results. And the critics who are saying the study is debunked are really not looking at the data. The assumptions they're embracing as they're making this claim are ridiculous. They're absurd when you dig into them, as we've documented at justfactsdaily.com. So, and also what the media is failing to say, and so-called fact checkers, is a number of these so-called experts that have debunked this study have donated to Hillary Clinton's presidential campaign and a George Soros-funded PAC. So they're presenting these people as just, irrefutable experts, and they're treating the scholars who conducted the original study as, in some cases, as nobodies. PolitiFact analysis just referred to them as people who wrote in the monkey cage of the Washington Post, which is absurd. It's just so misleading to their readers. So there is concrete evidence. We could delve into that if you'd like.
Yeah, I would like that, because this study that you referred to, the 2014 study, that's the same one I referred to in the introduction, that says that at the very least, 38,000 non-citizen adults registered or voted illegally. That's the least number possible. The most is perhaps 2.8 million. That is the Jesse Rickman, David Ernest study, I believe. And then they were the professors from Old Dominion University. Then the professors from Harvard said that they did analysis on the study from 2014 and found that the sample was flawed, and that's their argument in debunking the entire study. But you say that their debunking facts are flawed. Dig into that. Explain to us why.
Sure, I'd be happy to. So the original survey, and it's based upon a massive survey conducted by YouGov that is then put into, by these Harvard professors, into something called the CCES. It's a survey, it's a match survey. It basically takes a non-random sample, the YouGov survey, and tries to make it into a random sample by matching it to the demographics of the US population. So what the survey found, if you just look at it uncritically, it found that about 10% of non-citizens in that survey said, I'm a non-citizen and I voted illegally. It's pretty clear cut. And if you apply those figures to the US, the 20 plus million non-citizens recorded by the Census Bureau, you end up with about 2 million non-citizen voters. Now, what the Harvard people try to do is they say, well, these people who said they voted, they're not matched in a database we're using called Catalyst, which is a database used by progressive organizations to gain information on how people vote, voting trends. And the flaw, the vital flaw in that study, or in that assumption that they're making, is that non-citizens register and vote under their own name. And that is absolutely a ridiculous assumption. As the president of the California State Senate recently said, half my family would be deported under Trump's executive order because they're using illegal Social Security numbers. They have fake driver's licenses. They have all this fake documentation. And to say, well, if Catalyst doesn't match them, they must not have voted, when they specifically said, number one, I voted. Number two, this is the person I voted for. And they're trying to say, well, we don't find them in this database, so they
Right,
didn't
so
vote.
let me clarify to make sure that I understand this, to make sure my viewers understand this. So this program called Catalyst, that's used by the progressive professors in this study. It has a list of the names of people, of voters or non-citizens who claim that they vote. That program, Catalyst, isn't matching the names or the numbers with the names from the study, but you're saying that's because that match, there's that disparity because many non-citizens who vote illegally don't use their correct name, don't use their proper legal name?
Absolutely. And I should add this. The Social Security Administration did a study in 2013, and it found upwards of 2 million illegal immigrants are using false Social Security numbers. So this is, and the Speaker of the California Senate said all of them, virtually all undocumented immigrants, had false identification. And the Harvard study itself shows that this is the case because this Catalyst matches 90% of the respondents in the study, but it only matches about 40% of the non-citizens in the study. So the study itself actually undermines the assumption they're drawing from it.
Right, that's very interesting. It's shocking to me. It's remarkable that someone would have a political agenda so strong that they would ignore data, which it seems to me this would be elementary data that they would be able to analyze. I'm surprised they didn't do it. James, thanks so much for doing this, for your think tank, Just Facts, going to the trouble of analyzing this so that we can at least start to get to the bottom of this argument about voter fraud. The integrity of all of our votes are at stake here, and I appreciate you doing that, sir. Thanks for being here.